Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Alpha Core HD Gaming and here we are for round number 4 of this F1 2016 career mode. This McLaren Ultimate career mode in Sochi, the Sochi Autodrom in Russia. If you have been enjoying this series, be sure to hit the like button on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out when you guys do that. It lets me know that you're enjoying the video for one, and also that you're enjoying the series and that we're going in the right direction. So yeah, please do that. It will really help me out if you do. And so another thing, just before we get into this video, if you haven't seen races 1, 2 and 3, which is Australia, Bahrain and China, then do feel free to go back and watch them now, because I don't want to spoil them for you. I don't want to talk about them yet until we know that everyone who is in this video watching it has seen the previous 3 races. I don't want to spoil those for you, and I want you to enjoy them without me giving you any spoilers. So with that being said, we're going to get into this video now. So everyone that's here now should already have seen race 1, 2 and 3. If you haven't, then fair enough, you're going to get spoilers. But welcome to the video. So we're in practice 1, as you can see. The things we're doing here is just the track acclimatization, just trying to hit the checkpoints and just get some resource points for our car development in this championship season, in this career mode. So we're just trying to get the checkpoints and get around these laps without too many dramas. Not really interested in lap times at this point in time. Just trying to get a feel for the car, feel for the track. And as the sections go on, we're going to work on the car setup and just hopefully get the car improved and get it to where we want it for the race later on in the weekend. So we're on lap number 4 now. I think we're just going around again. So we're just doing a few more laps on the softer tyres. So this is the soft compound of tyres. We're just doing a few laps in this session, just trying to see what the fastest time we can set in practice 1 is. Probably trying a few little setup options as we're going along in this session. Just we heavily fueled the car, so we did quite a lot of laps, and you can see there we didn't finish anywhere near the top 10. Alonso finished in 9th, and Hamilton topped the session. Really, who you would have thought would have topped the session there. Kind of just everyone's there, and we're down in 20th. But that was practice 1, and we really didn't have the car set up at this point in time, so it was. It was to be expected. We got a little penalty there. I think it might have been corner cutting. Just it's really easy to cut the corner in Sochi. It's one of these tracks where it's really easy. Even if you don't intend to, the car can get too much oversteer and just turn in too much. So it can be really easy. So practice 2. Again, we've just been working on setup a little bit more. You can see we've improved our lap time. We're into the 1:39s now. We've done 4 laps so far. 1.28 laps of fuel left in the car, and yeah, we're just trying to improve our lap as we go along. The thing about this track, as we do the qualifying sim, you can see we're just trying to set our outright fastest lap time in practice 2. The thing about this track is it's got a long straight, and it's also got some fast sweeping corners in the middle sector, followed by a quite slow last sector, final sector, with a lot of right-handers and left-handers, 90-degree corners. Where you've got to have really good balance in the car, and it's actually got, despite the track being really flat, it's actually got quite a bumpy final sector, so it goes up and down a little bit. So it's quite important to actually have the ride height high enough not to bottom out with the car. So that's one of the important things, to have the ride height not too low. And also what I found as well, one of the things that really affected the car performance was tyre pressure. If you went too low on the tyre pressure, even though the track's pretty flat, the car was just understeering. It was kind of affecting the aero balance of the car way too much. So having the ride height high enough and having the tyre pressure high enough really did affect the setup and made the car basically a lot more stable. So I will show the setup in just before the first qualifying lap. It's going to be in the video. I've actually added that onto the screen, so you'll see exactly what setup we're using. This is practice 3 now, and I didn't see where we finished in practice 2. I think we finished 2nd in one of these practice sessions, so that wasn't really representative, but we did finish quite high up in one of the practice sessions. And you see there, that was just us doing the tyre wear test, and we passed that with flying colours, which is quite kind of to be expected in Sochi, because it's a very low tyre wear track, and you can get away with going for a one-stop race, I believe it is, on this track as well. So again, we're just in practice 3 right now, and we're just trying again to do the qualifying sim, because we didn't do quite well with it in practice 2. We didn't quite pass it as well as we thought we would, so we went around a few more times. You can see we actually hit purple for the lap, so that means it's a perfect score for the qualifying sim, which is one of the first times we've done that this season, which is pretty good. The final lap of this sim though, we just basically backed off, and you see we were 4.4 seconds down, but we estimated position 27. Actual result there was 7th, you can see, so we actually did get a very good result. And so yeah, this is the session where we finished second, 6/10 off Sebastian Vettel, but you can see that Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg didn't actually do very well in that session, so they kind of didn't really show their full pace. But that's good to see, that resource points there. You can see we passed, we got perfect qualifying pace, perfect tyre management, we did 13 laps. So remember, I've said this in the previous videos, if you do more than 10 laps you get the extra points. There you can see it's capped at 10 laps, but you get 10 points. Our agent is coming to tell us we've got a new rival because we've actually beaten Fernando Alonso already, so she's telling us what our new rival is now, and it's going to be Romain Grosjean, who is actually in a Haas, which is a slower car than us now, so it's not going to be really a hard fight with our new rival because we were against a team that's slower than us. And our session goal for qualifying, the agent's going to tell us it is 9th place, qualify above Romain Grosjean, which we should be able to do, and also beat Fernando Alonso. So I think we've out-qualified him in every race this season, so it shouldn't be too hard to do. We should be able to do that. I think we've got a decent pace for the car. I didn't really like this track that much before I turned up to it. I'd only really played it on F1 2014, so it wasn't one of these tracks where I practiced a lot, and I think that was one of the main reasons why I didn't really like it. But as the weekend's gone on and I've got the car set up a little bit more to my liking, and I think we brought the pace into the car and the flow of the track's come to me, and a bit more practice. I do kind of like this track right now. It's grown on me a little bit, so I have enjoyed this weekend so far with the car. I think we're on for a strong weekend. I didn't mention that in China, obviously everyone's seen that because you're here watching this video now. We could have finished third, so with that safety car we pitted under the safety car, put the super soft tyres on, but unfortunately we clipped our wing on the back of Sebastian Vettel, and then that was that. We kind of blew third place. We could have had third place in that race, I think, if we'd not chipped our front wing off. So as you can see, I'm showing the setup on the left hand side. So it's a wet lap on this qualifying lap, but our front wing and rear wing are 6 and 6, and it was 80 and 64 for transmission, and then obviously you got all the camber there. That's the suspension. As you can see, we've gone quite soft on the roll bars and quite stiff on the suspension, especially the front, just to give us a little bit extra turning. The brake pressure is high, and the front brake bias is 54. You always want to kind of lean towards having front brake bias, because you don't want to. If you want to lock any tyres, you'd rather lock the fronts rather than the rears, because if you lock the rears, the chances are the car can spin out, and you see quite high on tyre pressures there. But if you lock the rears, your chances of spinning out are a lot higher than if you lock the fronts, whereas if you lock the fronts, you're going to understeer a little bit and maybe slide off. But the rears, if you lock your rears, your car can become very unstable. We've 11 ballast, so that's as far to the rear as possible to give us oversteer through the middle sector and through the final sector. But yeah, it's a wet lap, and all that stuff we learned in practice for the setup has kind of gone out the window right now, and we're doing this qualifying lap here, qualifying 1. We look like we're going to get through pretty easily. Our first lap was a 53 or 153.658, but we went round again because we had a little bit more fuel on board, so we were actually more than a second up at one point in this lap, but we're now only about 8/10 up, so there is more time in the car, but it looks like it's a pretty steady lap, and we are being quite cautious. And yeah, the brake pressure on the setup was set for 80% because I didn't actually realise how wet the race was going to be. But looking back at the weather forecast, it's actually going to be a pretty wet race from near the start of the race to the end of the race. So the brake pressure is probably a little bit too high for the wet weather conditions. But you can see there we got through quite comfortably. Alonso in 8th, us in 11th. Julian Palmer and Kevin Magnussen, and I don't know what I'm doing there. I have no idea why I'm scrolling up and down on there too quickly, but if you pause the video, you'll be able to see who went out in qualifying 1. And so qualifying 2, we're back to what we know. We're on the dry tyres in a fully bone dry track. It's dried out pretty quickly, I can see. And this qualifying lap, I think it was a little bit. It wasn't the cleanest lap. I think there was a few corner cuts in it, but obviously. I can't go back and redo the lap now. It was kind of on the previous qualifying lap, as you can see, the 137.9. What happened was that the car wasn't turning in enough, so I wasn't getting enough turning. So the next lap round, I kind of tried to turn in a little bit earlier. It turned out to be that I was turning in too soon, which then cut the corner. It wasn't this corner, it wasn't the next one. I think it's the one after that. But the front end just, as the previous lap, didn't stick, and then suddenly on this lap it did, so it kind of turned in too much. The good news is, though, even with the corner cut here, it doesn't gain you time because we ran out wide and couldn't get down the power, so it doesn't actually gain you much time at all, if anything, down that corner. So the corner cut wasn't really beneficial to us. It was kind of, I didn't want to corner cut, and it wasn't good for us. But this next corner you can gain a little bit of time. Again, that's just because the front end's sticking way too much, and the car was set up a little bit with a little bit of a too good front end. So the front end of the car was too good. But we're coming around this lap, you can see we're only a couple of tenths up, so we haven't improved by a lot. We're currently in 6th place, but it looks like we're going to get through to the top 10 comfortably. We're trying to out-qualify Alonso at this point. We're not really bothered about anybody else. And we're trying to set the fastest lap on a set of tyres that we're going to... this is our set of tyres we're going to start the race on, so we didn't want to use the tyres too much. But you can see we out-qualified Alonso by just over a tenth and a half, and we've lost Carlos Sainz and Nico Hülkenberg in that session, and Kvyat and Perez. And again, I don't know what I'm doing there. I'm moving too quickly for you guys to see who got knocked out. But if you pause it, when I go down to the bottom, you'll be able to see, and I'm probably going to do it again. There you go. Grosjean and Nazo are another two that we lost, and Kvyat. So on to qualifying 3. This is the lowest fuel load, and you can see we've already done a 1 minute 37.9. So this is our final run. And we're just trying to lower that lap time down from a 37.9, because I think in the last qualifying session it was, what was it, a 137.9 or 137.8, so we know there's time in the car, and we're just trying to lower that lap time right down. And you can see there's a bit of sunshine on the track, even though it's quite cloudy. The sun is shining a little bit around that corner, so we get turned in. We're gaining time for this lap now already. We're 3 tenths up at this point. Nicely turned in. We're 3 tenths down on Hamilton though, but 3 tenths up on our previous lap. Chucking the car at the corners now, so it's important to get the front end chucked into these middle sector corners. And you'll see here, this is the better way of taking the corner. It actually gains us time, so we get turned in nicely and on the power early. You can see we're gaining time off that corner now, as opposed to the previous lap where when we cut the corner, we lost time initially and only gained back a tiny little bit of time. So coming to the final sector now, it's a very tricky sector. You've got to be very patient on the power around here. From 3rd to 4th up to 5th, we're 5 and a bit tenths up at this point. We're swinging into these final corners now. Only 2 corners to go, and we're in 6th place at the minute. I don't know if it's going to improve our position at all, but it should improve our lap times. We're half a second up into the final corner, lose a little bit of time there, here and there, but it was good enough for 6th place, and I think it was around about a 1 minute 37.4 or something that. So we'll see in a second, but it was a decent lap, and you can see we're only 3 tenths off pole position. So as with Bahrain, we were very close to pole in Bahrain, only 3 tenths off there, and only 3 tenths off here, so another pretty decent performance. Alonso again, slower than his Q2 lap time, so not able to pull it out of the bag. You see there, we were expected to qualify 10th. I believe the agent said 9th, so that's wrong. Once again, we're getting minus 3 points or something for a penalty. Probably another a minor corner cut. Our rivalry is against Romain Grosjean, as we know. So we completely qualifying 6th, penalty free, fastest in every sector and fastest lap. So we were nearly 2 seconds quicker than him, 1.9. And this driver position thing against Fernando, we're second driver still. I really don't know how long this is going to last for, because we've beaten him in every race, now qualified him every race as well.
I have some information on the race goals you should keep in mind.
And so our agents now come to us with our race goals, and we're to finish 7th or higher in the race, which I think it's actually possible. We're going to finish higher than Grosjean and Alonso as well. That's, again, very possible. But, yeah, I think it's possible for us to finish in 5th or 6th in the race. I think we've got a decent setup. We've got a decent pace. I expect to definitely finish inside the top 10. Ever since that engine upgrade in China, I think it's brought us forward quite a lot. So I think we're good to finish in 5th or 6th. It's possible. So The weather is quite overcast, as you can see. It's 20 degrees and the flags are blowing around, so we know that there's going to be some rain. When the rain's going to come, though, we don't know when that's going to happen, and we're just getting shown the track map here. A little bit more detail of what the track looks like, but yeah, the race is going to be pretty wet, so that's what we've got to expect. So what we're going to do in this race is we're going to underfuel the car. You'll see that at the start when I'm flicking to the fuel to show how much fuel we've got on board. The car condition indicator, you'll see that we're actually a few laps under on fuel. I think it's 8 or 9 that we're underfueled by, so we're underfueled by quite a few laps. And that's going to help us at the start, especially with us having the soft tyres on, the super soft, and having the low fuel. Then we are going to hopefully be able to keep up a decent pace at the start and not get bogged down by any of the midfield. We need to kind of run away at the start for when it starts raining, because we don't want to be pulled into a fight from the guys behind us. We want to just kind of cruise to finish. We want this to be an easy race. We don't want to have to fight people. So that was Nico Rosberg sat in his car, getting a handshake from his engineer, which I'm not sure he needs. And this is us sat in our car with our tablet, getting some instructions from the engineer. And he tells us to not go too crazy into turn 1, which I will agree with, because we've got to get through turn 1 and continue this race and get a good result. So not going too crazy is a good idea. Hamilton, Vettel, Rosberg, Ricciardo are the first 4. Then you've got Verstappen, then us. You've got Raikkonen, Massa. You've got Valtteri Bottas, Fernando in 10th. Carlos Sainz, Nico Hulkenberg. And then you've got Daniel Kvyat and Sergio Perez. And you've got Felipe Nasser, Romain Grosjean, Jolyon Palmer, Kevin Magnussen, Pascal Wehrlein, Esteban Gutierrez, Marcus Ericsson and Rio Haryanto bringing up the rear for this race. And shortly we're going to go to the formation lap and see us just following Max Verstappen. It's a very slow final sector, so you've got to wait on the grid for quite a while. So all this heating that we've done in the car and making the tyres warm, the tyres are going to now start cool down, and also the engine's going to start getting hot as we sit there. We've got Hamilton, as I said, on pole position with Vettel in 2nd, Rosberg 3rd, Ricciardo 4th, Verstappen, then us, and then Raikkonen, and then you've got the couple of Williams behind us, I believe it is, and then Alonso. So for some reason our car is set in reverse gear. We don't want to be starting in reverse. That's not a good idea. We're just waiting for the rest of the grid to form up. As you can see, they're just reaching the back of the grid now, and we're going to go to the race start. It's 3 lights, and there's 4 lights, and there's 5, and we're waiting for the lights to go out, and we're away, and we've got a good start ahead of Verstappen. Got a monster start actually. Ricciardo's pulled out from behind Vettel. Hamilton's got a fantastic start. Rosberg's up to 2nd. We've round the outside of Ricciardo. Yellow flags are showing. You can see in turn 1 we're actually battling with Ricciardo. We go side by side, but he forces off the track to the left, so we'll keep that position. It's fair enough. Vettel just sneaks his way through into 4th place as well. Immediately, you've got Hamilton and Rosberg are pulling away from us a little bit. You can see they're having their own little private battle up front. They've got an absolutely fantastic start and just pulled away a little bit with their Mercedes power at the start. But we're not too far behind. We're only 2nd behind now. Got Vettel 3/10 behind us as we lead into the middle of lap 1. Let's see, our plan here is, like I said, to keep up with these guys at the start and just not get too bogged down with midfield battles and use our light car to an advantage because we've got less fuel on board, remember. So just sweeping into that corner, you can see we've got a few cars following us and coming into lap number 3 and 4. So we've actually managed to close the gap on Rosberg. You can see we've closed right up behind Rosberg and his Mercedes. And we've got good grip, got low fuel load, so we should be able to have a go at Rosberg down this straight. Good exit from the final corner. And we're closing in on Rosberg now. Rich Mix is on, and on board view you can see we swing out to the left and make the move. We opened the DRS after we swung out and got past him because we didn't want to destabilise the car as we went around the outside of him, because it could have been a catastrophe if we'd done that. So we've passed Rosberg up with the P2. You see there's actually raindrops falling already, and we're on to lap number 4 now, and we start getting a little bit cautious because of the high brake pressure we were running. We couldn't brake late, we had to brake quite early, and Rosberg just sneaks past us again because of that. But it's actually a good thing because we keep up with Rosberg through this final sector, and he doesn't actually get away, so it's a good thing because we'll get DRS from Rosberg round this down the main straight. There's a little bit of a gap between us and Ricciardo, who's now overtaken Vettel again. So Ricciardo's back up to 4th. And you see we're minus 6.8 laps of fuel, so we're still well under fueled. But later in the race we should get that back. Coming down the main straight, we've got another good run on Rosberg. This time he's going to cover the outside, so we go straight up the inside. It was an easy move. It was done well before turn 2. You see we're braking it in turn 2 now, just with Rosberg just behind us. At this point, we're just about hanging on, but the track is getting wetter, so we're starting to lose a little bit of grip. And this is especially good conditions for the Mercedes because it's got that extra aero and extra engine power. It's just an all-round better car, and you can see on lap 7, even though we pulled away from Rosberg a little bit, then we had really bad problems in 5th gear there, just trying to keep the car in a straight line. And as we turned in for the next corner, the car just sailed off the track. So the grip is going away. You can see we've actually got quite a little, we've got quite a gap to Ricciardo there. So we've still got a gap, and we're still keeping up with Rosberg, who has the same problem we had, trying to get traction in 5th gear. So we just go sailing straight past him and back up into 2nd place. But yeah, at this point we're just kind of clinging on because we really are losing grip, and that Mercedes is starting to prove a better car in the damp conditions. Not so much as it gets wetter, then it kind of neutralises things again. But in these damp conditions, the extra aero grip is kind of helping the Mercedes on slick tyres. So it's a good thing for them to be on these tyres in the wet. They do have a good pace. You see Hamilton's 4.7 ahead, so he's now getting away as well. And that lap there was 4.3 seconds slower than our fastest lap. And this is down the back straight again. Rosberg just has more power, straight line power, and we're just being more cautious on the brakes. You see we're going really deep into the corner, and that's Rosberg up to P2 again. So this is the same kind of battle that we had in China. In China we really did stick with Rosberg for the first few laps of the race, especially even to the middle part of the race, even in our middle stint. But this is a different race altogether. We did have some wet running in the practice in China, and also you see the wet running in qualifying 1. But this is the first time we're running an actual wet race, so with a full race, full tank of fuel, full race setup, and just the conditions changing. You see Ricciardo gets past us, then brakes really early, and we brake later than him, trying to be a bit more aggressive, and we end up going off the track. So Ricciardo takes position, and you see the steering wheel work for that final sector, which is showing how tricky it was getting. And Rosberg, by lap 13 and 14, has pulled out an 8-second gap on us, and Vettel goes past us into the final corner, and Hamilton has pitted to go onto the soft tyres. So Hamilton decided to go off his super soft and onto the soft tyres, so he's pitted once, and he'll have to pit again very shortly for the intermediate tyres. So as we rejoin the race, it was a pretty slick stop, and now we're onto the intermediates, and you see that's Romain Grosjean just ahead of us as we come out of the pit lane. Obviously he hasn't pitted yet. You can see he's on the super soft, so he's on with him staying out this lap, he's going to start to struggle towards the end of the lap, and also we've basically got a pit stop over these guys already. So we've built a big gap between us and the midfield, so that's good news in the early part of the race. You see, we've been very cautious, but we're also aware that we've got better grip than Grosjean at this point, because we've got the intermediates, which are the correct tyres for these conditions. You see Hamilton, despite pitting twice, just has more pace than us and ends up coming out ahead of us on the track. So that Mercedes is absolutely mighty. He's actually been jumped by Sebastian Vettel there, as you can see. Vettel on the intermediates already. Because Hamilton pitted, Vettel started the race on the soft tyres and then only had to do 1 stop. And Hamilton has done 2 stops, and I believe, yeah, he's basically... He was a pit stop ahead of Vettel and a few other people, including ourselves. So Hamilton into turn 1 puts the pressure on. He has a look and a move. We give him the room, and into turn 2, then we kind of just lift the throttle and let Hamilton through, because there's no point in us fighting him too much, because he's way quicker in these conditions. He's a lot quicker than us at this point, and we're just going to hold ourselves up. We've got a Toro Rosso Kvyat behind us, who's quite a way back, and we want to keep him behind us. That's our race is really with the midfield, not so much with the guys up front. We want to keep ahead of the midfield pack. So yeah, tricky conditions. You can see how gently and how cautious and careful we're being just through this final sector. Really lots of steering wheel work and lots of gentle throttle inputs and gentle braking manoeuvres. A very, very careful race at this point. It does look really good when you drive around the wet. The graphics, especially, just the way the game looks, it looks amazing. But we've got to lap 27, and after like 13, 14 laps on the intermediates, Hamilton's only pulled out a 4-second gap on us. You can see he's still on the same straight as us, and there he is just ahead. But during the safety car period, I believe that Daniel Ricciardo gains about 4 seconds on us, and that's because we have to slow right down through the first sector, and we're pretty much stopped. And I think Daniel's basically going full belt. You can see we have to slow right down, and at the end the virtual safety car ends, and Ricciardo's already up to full speed in his sector, so he gains about 4 seconds through the virtual safety car. So from being 12 seconds behind, he's now only 8 seconds behind. So he gains quite a lot in that first part of the in that virtual safety car period. You see there, just trying to get the car back up to temperature as we end the virtual safety car. And lap 32, that oversteer moment I was on about with the car in such a good front end, we turn in too much and we get a penalty from Charlie Whiting, and later in the race that's really going to basically affect us and kick our ass. It's a 3-second time penalty, so if anybody finishes right behind us in the race, if there's anything crazy happens and someone finishes behind us, then they're going to finish ahead of us on the track as long as they're within 3 seconds. Ricciardo goes steaming around the outside, but then he brakes in the middle of turn 3 or 4 there, and it could have ended in a disaster. That we could have ended in the back of Ricciardo and our front wing being knocked off. So we're lucky that didn't happen. This race is going on and getting wetter and wetter, and we went to lap 40 and 41. So the end of lap 40, start of lap 41, Ricciardo pits in and comes out just ahead of us there. The Ferrari pit crew are out and our pit crew are out. We're going on to the wet tyres. A nice gentle stop. They kind of took their time putting the wheels on there. You don't want to make any mistakes during a wet pit stop there. And we're coming out onto the main straight, and I think we're well clear of everybody, so we're pretty much on our own. It's we're in no man's land at the minute, but I'm happy with that. You can see lap 44, it's still raining, so it's getting wetter and wetter, but I'm actually quite enjoying these conditions. I honestly thought at the start of this race, I thought we were going to struggle in the wet compared to the AI and the other cars, but I was pleasantly surprised that we weren't actually that slow, and we were able to have a decent race. You can see as we come round that corner, we're being followed by a Ferrari. The prancing horse is coming round after us. Raikkonen, who's been pretty much anonymous for most of the race, has now decided that he likes the rain, and he's catching up with us a little bit. So as we get on to lap number 48, is this 47? Lap 47, the horses like the rain, especially these Ferraris. Vettel's already well ahead of us, but Ferrari absolutely steaming through. You can see the difference in straight line speed between the McLaren Honda engine and the Ferrari engine. It's the top end. It's not the low end of it. It's basically when you get up to top speeds, and we nearly hit the back of Raikkonen there. When you get to top speeds, it's the pull. It's how the car pulls at the end of the straight, and our car seems to not be able to pull as well as the other leading cars, which is what really lets us down at the top end of the straight. Nico Hülkenberg is out of the race, so he's had an accident or something's gone wrong with his car, which has now triggered a safety car. And Raikkonen has got past us, and we've been on these tyres for 6 or 7 laps, so we decide, because we've got such a big gap to Kvyat, you can see 23 seconds, we decide to go for a little bit of a change of strategy and put some new wet weather tyres on. And you see we kept up with Raikkonen during the safety car period, 28 seconds to Kvyat, so yeah, you should remember that at the end of the race, just how far ahead of Kvyat we were in this race before the safety car. And remember that we've got a 3-second penalty from Charlie Whiting for cutting a corner. So we were 27 seconds ahead of the Toro Rossos. So just keep that in mind as this last part of the race goes into, as we get into the last part of the race. So we're coming around this lap, you can see we're trying to absolutely belt around and try and get catch of the safety car. And when we did, it was lap 51, so we've only got lap 51, lap 52 and lap 53. So There's only really 2.5 laps of the race left. You can see once we've caught up to Raikkonen, the tyres are absolutely frozen. 61 degrees centigrade, 59, 59 and 58. Formula 1 cars do not work in those conditions, and the only way you can keep these wet weather tyres warm is by going at racing speeds. We can weave around all we like, but everyone's going to have the same problem during the restart, including the Ferraris, including the Toro Rossos, the Williams, Mercedes. Everyone's going to have that problem. And so lap 51, the race restarts. You can see 2 Toro Rossos right behind us. Rio Haryanto's engine has just absolutely blown itself up. So the big cloud of smoke ahead, that's Rio Haryanto, and we are following him. He's not bothering to get out of the way. He's just saying to Gutierrez and Verline and Raikkonen, there you go, have some of my smoke. And as we got on lap 52, it is the craziest lap ever in this career mode. Haryanto finally pulls to the side and gets out of the way. As we come down the straight, that extra bit of power the other guys have is showing, and also tyre temperature a little bit. But as we come into turn 1, we have to avoid Verline in the manner. Raikkonen goes up the inside of Gutierrez, who then leaves the door open for us as well. So we sneak up the inside of Gutierrez. We're still struggling to get those tyres warm, so you can see we understeer and just slide off to the right into the wet part of the track. Raikkonen's now got Nasser, Palmer and Grosjean ahead of him, giving him problems. Everyone's really struggling, and we try to use a bit of Nasser's slipstream. We try to go past Palmer, but then Palmer shuts the door on us. So he's not really been helpful. Raikkonen pulls away a little bit, and all this time you've got Kvyat just behind us, clinging onto our car. Remember that he did have a 27-second deficit to us before this safety car, so he's really kind of... We're trying to pull out a 3-second gap at this point. You can see Raikkonen and Grosjean nearly come together, and we try a cheeky little move around the outside of Raikkonen. And as we get onto the straight, we get a really good drive. As you see here, we get a really good drive off the straight. We're alongside him, but then Raikkonen's engine just pulls him away. Look at that. In the rain, how well the Ferrari engine performed. It just pulls him away. So we switch to lean mix and decide that we're going to just sit behind Raikkonen. We're not going to get past him. It's not going to happen. He's got too much engine power. And as we sneak up the inside of the Haas, you've got the 2 Toro Rossos there, you can see. You got Kvyat and Sainz have now snuck their way through, so they're right behind us. And we're still trying to pull out this 3-second gap. We're not really interested in getting past Raikkonen. He should be quick enough to pull away from these 2 guys, and so should we. So that's our plan. We're trying to get away 3 seconds ahead of these guys. And there's only 1 lap left to do it. As we come into the final corner, we're onto the straight. We're short shifting like crazy just to get the traction. And I believe we might be in rich mix right now trying to chase Raikkonen down, but he's just got so much speed in a straight line. And these Toro Rossos are keeping up with us as well. So we are coming into turn number 2. Nicely braked, and we get turned in quite well. You see Raikkonen's not getting away from us, so we are driving very quickly. It's just that the Toro Rossos are clinging on, and if we'd had a couple more laps, I'm sure we would have finished like way ahead of them. We would have pulled away a little bit. You see we're sideways, we're pushing so hard. Because we've only got this 1 lap left, we need to pull out this gap. Otherwise, we're going to finish in 8th place, and we're currently sat in 6th, which would be an absolutely fantastic result. And we're still at 72, 74, 75 and 76 degrees with the tyres, so they're still not fully up to temperature, so everyone's still struggling, including us. And we're just flinging the car into corners, just hoping it'll stick, and just we've got nothing to lose at this point, because if we finish behind them on the track, we're going to finish behind them on the track. If we finish in 6th, we're going to finish behind them anyway. So we're really just absolutely throwing this car around corners. And you see corner cut there, we managed to turn in too much. Onto the straight, Raikkonen's powering away. We've got a gap to these guys now, but it's not big enough. We're coming into the final sector. You've got Ericsson in the Sauber in the way of Raikkonen. We're getting more aggressive on the brakes. You can see just flinging the car in. We don't really care if we oversteer and nearly slide off a little bit. Ericsson should be getting blue flags at this point. You see the blue lights are flashing. We come sideways into in that corner, and there's only 2 corners to go now. And we've got Ericsson in the way. We've got the Kvyat of the Toro Rosso, Kvyat and Sainz right behind us. Nico Rosberg takes the win, and there's only 2 corners to go. And final corner, Ericsson gets out of the way, and we just cut across the corner, and that is the race, and we finish in 8th place. So I was a little bit disappointed that we finished 8th, but also I was really, the last 2 laps of that race especially were so exciting. It was a great race. We had a few races like that this season where the safety cars kind of thrown a cat amongst the pigeons, and it's been a really interesting last few laps. But without the safety car, we would have finished 5th or 6th place. I think it was 6th place we were going to finish. But with the safety car, it's kind of taken away our 6th place, but it was also a very exciting end to the race. And that's how racing is, so can't really complain too much. All we've got to do in the next race is basically try and be cleaner and get less penalties, and just try and take our points where we get them. So that was Rosberg, Vettel, Hamilton on the podium there. Rosberg celebrating his win in Russia. I think he won in Russia in real life in 2016 as well, didn't he? So Rosberg celebrating the win. The Mercedes doing well still, doing really well, 1st and 3rd in that race. But yeah, our goal is to just kind of not get any penalties for the next race, and just not get our front wing chipped off, and just finish where we can finish. Just maximise the points that we've got available, and not throw any points away. Unfortunately, Fernando didn't finish the race. He retired early on, so that was a bit of a shame for him. But it means that we finished ahead of him again. You can see our fastest lap was actually only 3/10 slower than the Mercedes, so that's something to be proud of for our McLaren team. We are improving, albeit slowly. We're giving points away to Toro Rosso. So Toro Rosso with their daylight robbery stealing constructors' points from us, which you'll see in the constructor standings in a minute. I think David Croft was saying that Ferrari had a good race, but it's what you'd expect from a Ferrari, because they're Ferrari. You'd expect them to do well. I mean, they've got either 2nd or 3rd best car, I think it is, on this game. So I think it goes Mercedes, and then Ferrari, then Red Bull, and then Williams at the moment. You can see we're up to 8th place in the championship. Carlos Sainz has moved up, so has Daniel Kvyat. Hamilton leading the championship, Rosberg in 2nd, Vettel's moved up to 3rd, Verstappen's dropped down to 5th. Everyone else seems to be kind of where they were. Alonso still on no points in 16th place in the championship. So I'm just hoping that once our car starts to improve, that Alonso's going to move up a little bit. You see there, Toro Rosso moved ahead of us in the championship, so it was a good race for them, and it was a bad race for us. And we need to kind of not let that happen again. So 92% clean lap, we lost 2 positions, 25 points. We lost 5 points, or 6 points for penalties. We had 5 of them apparently. So yeah, we have to be a little bit cleaner next race. That's what our goal is. We've got 657 resource points there. Rivalry update, come on, we absolutely smashed Roman. He was nowhere near us. The only thing he wins on there is really penalty free, but what does that even mean? Who cares? We won it. We had the fastest lap. We finished 8th. He finished 14th. We didn't finish 7th or higher, but yes, we did. We finished 6th on the track, but we got a penalty. So we beat Alonso. We made 13th from the higher in the championship. So I say I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we get promoted to first driver, because we're beating him on everything. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment so I can talk to you guys, and we can talk about the race and things like that. But yeah, I'll see you soon in the next video in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix. You guys have been amazing, and I'll see you soon.